Alright, let's see if this is working. Shows I am live. Alright, let's see if this is working. Shows I am live. Okay, looks good. Probably gonna be some echo there. Because I was checking stream audio, make sure it all sounded good. At least in my ears. Apologies if you hear some chewing. I got some bag of sour Skittles at the theater. I didn't finish them there, so I'll probably be munching on them and drinking some water. Because theater popcorn is tasty, but it makes you thirsty. But yeah, I just got back from Alien Romulus, and it's been a while since I've done a movie review of any kind on this channel, but I don't know, something about this one kind of, as I was driving home, just kind of compelled me to do this. 'Cause I got so many thoughts, and I feel like just a need to throw them out there. We will be, and kind of something going on in the background since I don't usually do camera stuff. We got gonna have Deep Rock Survivor playing somewhat in theme. Apologies, responding to a few messages. Alright. What main missions do we want to do here?
Crystalline Caverns, my favorite. We'll do Hazard 2.
No, it's...
Looking like a hot one today.
What's the objectives of this one? 159 to upgrade LMG gun platform to level 18. That's engineer, I think? Yes. But yeah, Alien Romulus. I don't know, I guess where...
If it ain't broke, I'ma still fix it.
Find the dreadnought. Eliminate the dreadnought. Return in time for sandwiches and beers.
Where it gets kind of tricky is... There's definitely parts of the film that are good. And I would say... easily make it probably the third best Alien film. But there is also... there's some things that I felt really brought it down. Especially towards the end, which we will get to once I kind of get into more spoiler stuff. One second, just gotta. Sorry, it's late night. I have some more messages to reply to. Who very unfortunately know. No, but it's also gonna be a slow night. Not that I expect many people to watch this. Alright. What do I go here? I usually go with the rare damage. But where was I? Yeah, there's parts I think this had potential to be the third best Alien film, but they delve into they do a few things I can't really say without spoilers that really ruin the idea of that. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really. I would say the initial concept I like. The idea of basically like a group of scavengers finding an abandoned space station and find xenomorphs and whatnot on it. It, I think works pretty well, and that aspect of the movie I thought was pretty good. It's some of the stuff they do later on, as well as some of the character work and the pacing that I think messes with it. Uh, on a technical level, well, they do. There, there's more CGI for some stuff than I would have liked, but there, with when the xenomorphs show up, there is actually a fair amount using practical suits that I think is at least commendable for a 2024 Disney movie. Uh, I think definitely one of my issues is this, and maybe this was just my theater. Maybe it's not. Well, sounds better on a different sound system, but that the sound mixing is really bad in some areas. There's some parts where I was struggling to hear understand what people were saying, and there's one part where the PA system for the station says something, and I got like the first sentence of it, but everything after that was a mumbled mess. So I think sound design could have been better. CG the CG effects were some weren't horrible, but they weren't spectacular. Others, one in particular at the end is really bad. And then, yeah, yeah, it's really hard for me to talk about this without going to spoilers. So, non-spoiler stuff, I would say, hey, you're probably better off waiting for it to go to streaming. I wouldn't pay full price for this. Yes, if you like the Aliens movies, you might give it a matinee, but it's not. Especially with how theater prices are going, it's not worth the big bucks X ticket. Yeah, honestly, the the best thing about this movie is the Regal Theaters popcorn bucket, which I did not get because I don't have a Regal Theaters in my area, but I might have to get off of eBay or something. So that being said, on to the spoiler section.
I always waste my money on
And,
cosmetics.
so if I had to summarize the movie in a sentence, it's Alien Resurrection without the campy fun. And what I mean by that is, yes, at the end we have an alien-human hybrid again. And this one's worse, question mark, than the one in that film? I'm a little undecided on that one. The movie does keep Prometheus and Covenant canon, which is sad, because I think we would have been fine if they didn't make those canon. I'm probably going to be going all over the place in this review, because this movie just has my brain kind of scattered that way. But I need to turn down the sound on this, because that's too much noise. Is kind of throws me off. I'm not usually used to multitasking, sort of, in this way. I was taking a drink of water, so sorry if that came out weird in the microphone. Man, where do I even begin? I guess we'll kind of start with the beginning. We get essentially confirmation that xenomorphs can survive in space. As we see a Wayland robot, not space drone, who retrieved the alien from the first movie, that has somehow encased itself in a cocoon. So I guess that means the alien queen is still drifting off somewhere in Aliens. Now, as to how they found the alien, I don't know. It kind of looks like it's tracking it. Because it shows some wreckage from the Nostromo. But I don't know. I need to rewatch. I would have to rewatch the first movie to, I guess, kind of confirm this, but I feel like the alien, even assuming it survived, The alien from the first movie would have probably been blasted at a speed away from the explosion at different trajectory, and how Wayland calculated all of that, I don't know. That's probably problem number one, and is not the far from the last problem we will have in this movie. Then, so Wayland gets it. They cut its cocoon open. Uh, it is implied at some point it breaks out. It kills a bunch of people. Basically, wipes out the station, and to the point it's derelict and goes adrift from wherever it was going. And eventually it enters orbit. It enters the orbit of the planet of our main characters. Now, then we get our main characters, the two that you will remember the names of because they say them a lot, is Rain Carradine, which is I don't know if I don't know. For some reason that feels I don't know, it feels like a video game character. Her and her brother Andy, who first seems like he's got some kind of mental disability, but then we learn later on is effectively a out of date android, an older model who was kind of abandoned, and apparently Rain's father found him, fixed him up, and kind of made him Rain's protector. Oh, it's our skill. Also a drink, because talking a lot, and I think the mix of the movie popcorn and these Skittles is kind of dried out my throat. Yeah, so Rain and Andy are on I guess a Wayland-owned planet. How exactly the colonizing works, I'm not 100% sure, but they're on the planet, and she's trying to get off, go to a new planet for a better life. But at the company, he basically won't let her go. Oh, it's I don't know, like the appropriate analogy I guess would be the B movie. They're going to work everyone to death. And so, her friends who have a ship but don't have any cryopods, so they can't go into deep space, they discover the derelict space station that's entered orbit, and decide we're going to go on there, steal some cryopods, and then just go adrift into space to go to a new planet, the planet we've been trying to go to. What? And they also need her and need Andy because he's a Wayland robot, so he can actually access all the station systems. What do I want to take here? So Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, they go to the station and they find the pods, but their pods are short on cryofuel. Also have to go deeper into the station and to get some more or cryofuel, well, which they end up stealing from essentially the scientific storage space that is housing the facehuggers. And so, that happens, and so they begin to thaw. Two of the crew gets caught in the science lab, or not necessarily the science lab, but the storage area. And Andy doesn't have clearance, so they find a android that has been torn in half, take out some microchip from his head, and put it in Andy. He said he can have clearance. Uh, as Andy's rebooting, the facehuggers have thawed and begin to attack two of the guys. Now, I'm a little mixed on how I feel about how they handled the facehuggers, because they kind of escape and avoid getting latched by them fairly easily, despite the fact the facehuggers had the drop on them from the beginning. Excuse me. Then after that, but it's on a way where it's like I it's not that I can't see someone avoiding them. But they avoid that till Andy reboots and gets him out of there. But the facehuggers are also broken out, and they latch onto the one of them who is also out there, the Asian girl. I'm blanking on the names. Yeah, I only know Rain and Andy's names because everyone else's, they say each other's names like twice. And again, the sound was not that great. And so some of it's like you can't quite tell what their names necessarily even are. Now, alright, then, and so, so the facehugger is wrapped around her. They don't know what's going on, so they reactivate the torn in half android, which is revealed to be a resurrected CGI Ian Holm. And this is probably the first big part that I had issues with, because you see him, you think, oh, this is gonna be maybe something like Bishop in Alien 3, where he's kind of in there for one scene and then it'll be gone. Or I had heard, I had actually just before seeing the movie, he accidentally caught a glimpse of an article that talked about him being in this. Yes, but I looked away, didn't read it into it. It had no idea exactly what it was. if they had kept the android dead, and it was just like a prosthetic model to look like Ian Holm, I think I would have been fine with it. It, yeah, I would have been fine with that if maybe it was something like Tarkin in Rogue One, where it was just a scene, a quick little scene. I probably would have been fine with it, but the issue I really have with this is that he is a significant character and plays a big part in this story. To the point, and the fact that his CG is there, and I don't know, I just don't. I'm just looking at it wondering why they didn't just have it be a different model of android. You did not need to do this. It was not necessary for it to be him. I don't, yeah, I don't know why he's here. So that's really the first major thing that brings this down. Then, where are we at? So, they come up with a way to get the facehugger off of their friend by using some of the cryo fuel to kind of flash freeze and essentially give it frostbite so it releases her neck and they can pry it off of her. How viable of an option that is, I'm not quite sure in terms of alien lore, but it still manages to have implanted her, and this is where her CGI home starts manipulating Andy, because with the the microchip that they put in his brain has started basically rewriting Andy's code from what Rain's father had altered it to be. And so yeah, I'm about to die. Yep. This is why I don't usually do reviews while playing games. But that's alright, I'm not necessarily going for achievement runs on this. But where was I? Yeah, so they pry it off. It's still better. Andy's code's being rewritten to be more company aligned. But so Rook uses that to tell Andy he needs to basically eliminate her before the chestburster can get out. So he kind of tries to take her, but one of the crewmates shocks him with a cattle prod, which I kind of like the inclusion of that particularly because it was in the Alien Isolation game, a different version of it but same effect. And then they try to get on their ship and run away from what the guy believes to be a psycho murder robot. And I would need to brush up on. This is where there might be another small problem, but I'd have to rewatch some of the prior movies. He's to check because it kind of feels like within basically minutes of being implanted, the chest burster is ready to break out of the Asian girl's chest. And it does. Which seems remarkably quick for something that I believe in prior films took hours, if not days. At the very least, I think a day. Especially considering the impregnation time period was cut short. So, chestburster breaks out in kind of the chaos of that. The ship crashes conveniently into the hangar bay. Hey, and conveniently not in any way that blows the three people on there up. And now there's a little chestburster running around. So now we're split into two groups. Well, a group of two and a group of three, because Asian girl's dead now, because the chest bursted. And so the other three have Andy kind of lead him, but Andy, he is working for Rook now. So he tells them they have a secondary objective, and there's a little sequence where they have to go through some hallways filled with face huggers. And the way that it's not like a, I don't know, I didn't feel like it was super suspenseful of a scene. When they're making their way through. But I don't know. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was horrible, but it wasn't. I don't know. I definitely was lacking in terms of like suspense. I think that's because I had pretty confident at least two of the three were going. I don't know. Well, no, I wouldn't say two of the three. All three were. I was confident were going to survive at least longer than this part of the movie. But with the other group, they're now basically kind of walk around the ship a little, and they find the chestburster has now put itself in some kind of a cocoon to become the full-size xenomorph, which I don't know how I feel about. I think I kind of always assumed that it was sort of like a snake, like where it just grows and is just constantly shedding its skin from the facehugger phase to the xenomorph phase. Is when it puts itself in some kind of like weird like living cocoon. So yeah, there's a guy and a girl. Little girl makes a break for the door while the guy takes the cow prot, tries to supercharge it, and then stabs into the cocoon. Who knew? Which briefly seems like it might have worked until Xenomorph's tail comes out and stabs him in the eye. Which you kind of see in the trailer. her. In that, I thought it just like stabbed him straight through the head and killed him, but no, it's in this stabs him in the eye. He falls down, and then acid starts leaking from the cocoon and dripping onto him. Which this guy's just been having a bad time because earlier in the face hugger her room, he actually got flash frozen on like 2 of his fingers. Although I think they remarkably get better. I don't know. The way it looks initially, it looks like they are just instantly frozen, like full frostbite. I guess they got better because I don't think he was missing them, and he looked fine. I could be wrong though. But yeah, acid starts dripping. It starts dripping onto him, and instead of uh, seeing someone die by the acid, and the effect of it like melting his fingers was kind of cool. Well, but at the same time, he kind of just lays there and let it sit drip off of him when he could just not even like do a full roll, just like probably half roll to the left or right, and he would be in the clear. Also, uh, oh, a drop hits his chest, as to his stomach, and starts boring into him. You'd think he'd be screaming in agony from this, but he's not. And then he kind of has this weird sudden like death spasm before or he dies. I don't know. It feels like the acid exploded inside of him, which makes it's I don't know. It's definitely I don't know if it's the worst of the kills, but it's definitely the weirdest. But after that, the xenomorph comes out and basically kind of chases chases the other girl into the hangar, which she which that sequence I slightly liked. I thought it was somewhat decent into maintaining the suspense. And she gets to a door where the other 3 are out there. But they can't open it because Andy refuses to open it because that's what the xenomorph wants. As you can see, they can see it's stalking the girl on a crate behind them, or behind her. And so he doesn't do it and basically condemns her to die. Which kind of creates some conflict between him and the boy and the girl, or the guy in Rain, and then where do I go with this? So they then make their way to a lab where we find out what Wayland Yutani, the company, kind of has been wanting with the xenomorphs, which I believe originally was implied bioweapons was what they wanted. Excuse me, I need a drink of water. But in this one, it's genetic adaptation, shall we say, where or Rook via a video screen explains that all of their colonies are failing for one reason or another, and it's because humans as a species biologically are not ready to be not adaptable for space. And so that they're trying to take the xenomorphs and use them to hit the fast forward hit the fast forward button on human evolution, which this is where we get our Prometheus and Alien Covenant tie-in. I'm pretty sure because they took like some face huggers and extracted I think it's the weird black goo that I can't remember. I'm blanking on what their species is called, but what like the big tall aliens. Is that the Navigator? No, Space Jockey. Space Jockey. That's what it was. Space Jockeys. He's used to create I don't know, the black goo stuff that you see the Space Jockey drop into the water at the beginning of Prometheus. If you bothered to even watch Prometheus. If you're not, then trust me, watching it or not watching it, you'll probably be just as confused. Or, not, you won't be confused. You don't need to watch Prometheus to understand what's going on in this, I will say. And so Andy takes some vials that are some concentrated version of that. That we see being tested on rat, and supposedly it works. What we see later on is that it's mutated the rat into a giant monstrosity that's dead. And so having collected that, yeah, stuttering there. They go off, head for their ship. However, the hallway, they were planning to go down, turns out to be H. Geiger-ified. They originally were like, let's go a different way. But then the guy hears some pained sounds from the girl who got taken in the hangar. And so he goes to run and get her. They find out that she's still alive, has been essentially mortally wounded, which Andy explains is probably why she hasn't been impregnated. And she's in critical condition, but wait, do I actually have a viewer at this time of night? Alright, well, yeah. Joe's quite a time to show up. And it's gone. Odd. Probably wise. Where was I? Anyway, yeah, and he tells them they probably should put Which of these do I want? You know, I'm doing the mining run, so. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by my game here. Here, but I'm a bad reviewer. But yeah, so where was I? Lost my train of thought because that they yeah, and it gives them the option to inject the mysterious black goo into her, or they decline, head for the elevator. Her butt. That a xenomorph tries to stab the girls, but then the guy gets in the way and gets stabbed, gets taken up and gets eaten by a bunch of xenomorphs. Or the carnage of which we do not see because, you know, for a bit we put blood and violence into a rated R film. Second time, this kind of felt disappointing for me. But yeah, Halloween Ends was disappointing in the same way. Hey, that's all I need to elaborate. But in the commotion, Andy also gets hit and is sent into glitch mode, I guess you could say. So Rain helps the other girl into the elevator, tells her to take the stuff and get to the ship. And goes back for Andy, who she takes the microchip out of and essentially kind of fixes him and puts him back to somewhat normal. And then Rain goes back for Andy. He and they make a attempt at a final stand, and with a gun and that they picked up when and initially Andy told them not to shoot the xenomorphs because of their acid blood, and he notes they're on the bottom level of the station, and so the acid would burn through and expose him to space. Expose them to the vacuum of space, which honestly was kind of a detail I liked. And probably the other thing I liked is, well, I'll get into that after the plot summary's done. And so they shoot all the xenomorphs after activating or shutting off the gravity. So they're in 0G, which means the acid blood, isn't going to fall to the floor and at least not burn down and through to the space. But now they have the issue of now there's a bunch of swirling blood between them and the elevator. So that they have to make their way through. It's kind of a cool sequence, but it's not anything like, I don't know if I would call it anything like special or anything like that. But yeah, so they get to the elevator. Or the 0G is still on, so the elevator doesn't go down. Which is also kind of an interesting detail. And then, So they start climbing up, xenomorphs start climbing up after them, and all culminates in kind of a sequence of Andy shooting some of them, she loses the gun, and, and uh, gravity turns on, which drops the elevator down. Andy, I guess Android's apparent, Andy struggled against an airlock door. I don't think it was even necessarily an airlock door, or like a ceiling normal door, but apparently he can kind of lift an elevator after it's been dropping some speed. Yeah, that's kind of a weird one, and that I don't quite believe, but let's go to the elevator. It goes down, kills most of them, but there's still one left that's grabbed Rain. So Andy grabs the gun and drops down and kills the xenomorph. Or hooray, hurrah, they're free to go back to the ship. However, what they don't know is that the girl injected herself with the black goo. Why exactly she injected herself with the black goo? Maybe she thought she was really thought she was going to die and was desperate. It maybe, perhaps, I'm not entirely sure. But then, where were we? Yeah, so they get to the ship, get the cryopods refueled, all about to head off when, and the other girl, not Rain's pod sends out an alert that she's in critical condition. And I didn't mention it before her, but it was revealed earlier that this girl was pregnant. And so the black goo mutated her baby. And accelerated its growth, and it comes out as a pod. HUD. And if you were paying attention to my Alien Resurrection line earlier, yes, we are doing the Alien we're doing the human xenomorph hybrid again. And this one's something. Now, as far as design, it doesn't really look like human xenomorph. It looks like space jockey xenomorph. It's like the face literally looks closer to what the space jockeys did. Which maybe was the point, but I don't know. Like the first, so I think the first shot you kind of see of it is creepy. After that, I don't know. I don't know, it kind of comes across as silly to me. Maybe that's because, and I don't know if that's because I genuinely think the design is silly, or if I just think, oh, we're doing Alien Resurrection again. And that kind of struck me, and it's like, oh, we're doing this again. So, and that's what I thought was silly. Nah. And then, yeah, this is like the quarter of the film where I just stopped. I stopped caring. It was like, this is just kind of dumb at this point. But yeah, the hybrid, it kills the girl. well, debilitates Andy. Rain lures it down into the cargo hold and has to manually eject it. It, and then after it's ejected by, we almost do get another exact story beat from Resurrection, and because she uses some acid from the baby's pod to burn a hole in the bottom, and I legitimately thought, are we really going to suck the thing through a small hole like in Alien 4? But no, instead it burns a big enough hole, it gets sucked out, she gets sucked out. It manages to hold on, so they struggle a little bit, then she manages to use a cable to drop the pod. Somehow, she goes through the hole that was burned through, and then through the cargo hold, and back up the entrance, the ladder essentially, or back up through the entrance hole, without smashing into anything. And she then climbs the rope back up into the ship, which is the worst CGI shot of the film. It's bad. And then what else? Yeah, really from there, Andy gets put into a cryopod. She puts herself in a cryopod, leaves a final log, and they both drift off into space towards the Paradise planet that they wanted to go to. And that's really about it for the plot. But character-wise, initially I thought I was gonna dislike Andy, but Company Andy really actually kind of grew on me. And then just kind of throughout the film, him overall grew on me. So I liked him. I think he's probably the best character in the film. Rain, despite her name, she's not. I don't think she's actually a bad character. She might be a little bland. And, well, I take that back. I wouldn't say she's bland. And she does have some character. It just might not be the necessarily type of character that I latch on to. Yeah, but she has this whole thing about he really cares for Andy. Despite him being an android. I would say, shockingly, she's definitely, despite, Hollywood and certainly Disney's trend, she's not what I would call a girl boss character. Because she doesn't necessarily like boss people all around or is the best at anything. She's kind of she gets picked up and taken along for the ride, right? Because the group needs her brother. She can't remember. I don't think it establishes she has any like particularly like special skills or anything. And she does like shoot all of the xenomorphs, but they also established that the rifle has an aim assist mode. So that explains is why she's able to pull off constant headshots on the xenomorphs without actually without any previous military training, which I appreciated. And if anyone says that that aim assist is dumb, it really isn't. It's because there was the smart guns in Aliens 2, or Aliens 2, Aliens, which also had the turrets that had like motion and tracking and could auto aim as well. So the technology is there. It is definitely just, shall we say, I would say it's convenient means of it being there. It's also a little interesting that apparently, despite the fact that the pulse rifles in Aliens, I believe, only held 100 rounds, or 99, and the pulse rifles in this, despite looking about the same size, if not smaller, or carry specifically 420 rounds. Yeah. And but otherwise, despite what I thought after seeing the trailers and hearing what her name was, as I wouldn't say I disliked her, or I would even say I kind of liked her as a character. I'm not sure I would, I wouldn't be like, oh, we need another movie about this character. Yeah, when the one girl injected herself with the black goo, I thought it was gonna go kind of a different direction. I thought she was going to turn into the monster, and they were gonna like crash down their planet. It was gonna be like a tragedy, like they destroy their planet, or she kind of injected herself with like a xenomorph and would bring that to the Paradise planet they're trying to go to. I thought it would be something like that. I was not expecting the human hybrid. But I don't know, well, everyone else is kind of, I don't know. Everyone else doesn't really have enough of a character for me to really care about them. Pregnant lady is pregnant. And Asian and girl is Asian and the pilot. It main dude is something. I'm not actually sure what. Then other dude hates androids because they kind of killed his mother, or at least considered her an acceptable loss, shall we say? But yeah, other than that, there's not a lot to their characters. Some I wouldn't even say necessarily enough to find them endearing. Now that being said, I don't think they're like dislikable characters. I can't say I was going and being like, oh, I can't wait for this one to die. Hey, that being said, the closest I got to that was the guy who dislikes androids. That's more because I just thought he was dumb for not rolling out of the way of the acid. It, what else? Is there anything else? I already talked about Ian Holm and how I think that was how do I put it? It's distracting, creepy, and dare I say probably I would probably say disrespectful even. And I don't know. I don't know if Ian Holm sold his rights, his image for this kind of CGI deepfake stuff, or if his estate or family did, or whatever happened, but it's the fact that they use him so much in this is kinda disturbing. Not even kinda, it is disturbing. To me, at least. Because I think it's definitely setting a bad precedent. And then let's see. Uh, yeah, lore-wise, we learned xenomorphs can survive in space. I am assuming we never see a queen in this, so I'm assuming that all of the xenomorphs on this are cloned. Probably my biggest. Where was I? I'm sorry, I'm losing track of my mind. My mind's trying to go in 5 different directions with how to phrase this. But uh, not being a fan of Prometheus or Alien Covenant, and I'm kind of sad that they're continuing acknowledging their existence in this film. I guess I do kind of wonder, or this station, basically is established that the entire station was taken and implanted. So, what all the other xenomorphs were doing during kind of the first half of the film, I would have liked to know. Because it's not the scavengers are making noise in their areas of the station, which you would think would draw them, but it doesn't. And then I do. This is slightly connected to the Ian Holm thing, but I think they are also a little too tied to references in some of their shots and set design. Because in the sequence where they've rescued pregnant girl and are making a run for the elevator, they don't go down a couple steps and there's that blue light line with the mist that of course was famous shot from the first Alien movie. And Andy, like, when they step into it, he pauses, just leans down and puts his hand into it. It like, oh wow, this is fascinating. But then nothing comes of it. Like, it's like the mist and blue light could be gone, and nothing before or after or kind of that little scene of acknowledging its existence changed. At least not that I know of. I thought it was going to be leading to something, but it's literally just a blue light and mist there for the reference. And then I'm kind of, at this point I'm drawing a blank. Is there anything else I could talk about? I didn't wait to see if there was an after credit scene. I'm assuming there isn't. We did get well, actually, before the film there was a teaser. I guess they're now doing an alien show called Alien Earth. That's going to be on Hulu. I'm reluctant to see how that turns out. It's not anything that, I don't know, it's nothing where I'm like, I don't know, I need to definitely hear more before I would classify myself as excited. But, trying to think. Yeah, I think that's really about it. I don't know. Um, this would be better if I had someone else, particularly someone else knowledgeable about alien stuff to bounce off of. Because right now I'm drawing a little bit of a blank. Yeah, I will. Yeah, to give it another positive, did like most of the set design. I liked that all of the technology looked era appropriate, as opposed to Prometheus and Covenant, which had super futuristic compared to the first Alien films, despite the fact that those two films were prequels. But yeah, whenever aliens are, I would, I would say at least 50% of the alien shots are practical. The facehuggers are a different case. The full xenomorphs are at least 50% of their shots are practical. The facehuggers, I think there might be some practical in there, but most of it is CGI because of them skittering around. And then the hybrid is all CGI all the time. And I don't know, I'm still not sure how I feel about the way that thing looked. It's just so weird. Where was I? music, I don't know. I can't really comment much on the music. I can't say I necessarily noticed it a whole lot. It was very, I guess you could say it was very subtle, which I can appreciate. This remind me though, when it cuts to the end credits, it does get like obnoxiously loud. How it like was it? It was like the blaring siren that I think they play in the trailer. Or they do that for like several seconds at the beginning of the end credits. And it's like, why? This noise feels so unnecessary, especially for the note that the movie ends on. But yeah, I think that's about all I have. Have a I might update and do something if I come up with any. I might formulate something more if I have any other thoughts. On, uh, I don't know, where would I rank this in terms of the Alien films? I would say it is. It might be a low third best, though I don't know. It might be tied. It's kind of tied for fourth because, like I said, it's resurrection without the campy fun of resurrection. So it kind of depends on where. It might depend on where I lie in the, depending on the day. Like one day, I might be like, well, I think this one did the atmosphere of an alien movie better. Ever, so it's the third best. And another day, I might be like, yeah, but I like the campy fun of Resurrection more. So that's the third. That would be what I put on third best that day. It really depends. Hence, like I said, when I say it's the third best, and probably when you hear anyone say it's the third best, it is still a long ways down from the first two. Who, to be the third best alien film is not a high bar. But that's really that wraps it up for me for now. When I will do anything again, I don't know. I've got a couple different projects in the works. Works not necessarily on the YouTube side of things. Things I want to try and get back into it. But we'll just this has just been a busy couple of months for me as well. Hell, I've been pretty much gone on vacation like every other week. It feels like either vacation or business trip. So with that I will bid you, well, for me, good night.